needs to touch the south wall, and you need to have equal space on the east side and the west side. Okay. So in this example table, the mat goes almost to the edge, but on your table, like on my table at home, I've got like an extra 3/4 inch on each side or something. So make sure it's equal. Why is that important? Because that's how it's going to be at tournaments. So you want to practice that way. Okay. So now, what we're going to do is we're going to do a demo to show you what is in base. So here's my robot. Is it less than 12 inches tall?
Yes.
Yes, it is, because I measured it's like 10 inches. And then if I press start, once I press start, it's going to be in autonomous mode. So here it goes. So now it's coming back. And is it totally in base?
Yeah.
Okay. But is it in safety coming back? Definitely, right? Now what if I wanted to start here, where the robot is here, but my wire is hanging out in front of base? Would that be in base?
No.
No. What if I want to start back here, but my wire is over the wall?
But it is on the wall, not past it, right?
Ah, but it's the inside part of the wall that is the barrier of base. So would this be in base?
No.
In the past, we would say this is mostly in base, but these days we would say it's not in base because it needs to be completely in. So it would have to be like this. My robot on purpose has the wires out of control. When you have your robot, you probably want to coil up the wires so they're not sticking out all over the place, right? So that way you can have an easier time positioning your robot. Then here's an example of safety. Here the robot's going to go out, and then the robot's going to come back into the safety zone.
Wow.
Okay, so if you notice it's completely inside of safety, right? So that's a good return. And then here's an example of not making it back in. So this one, it might not make it back in this time. Yeah, so this time I have, what's wrong with this? Why
The wire's out.
The wires are sticking out, so that would not be completely in. That's another reason to have your wires under control. And now I'm going to do a couple demos, and I'm going to talk about the other missions of this. So in the factory model, there's two things you can do. This is the factory here, this guy. And with the factory, you can pull this thing and the model airplane will come out, or you can go get the methane unit and put it here in the power to power the factory. By the way, does anybody know of an example of a factory being run by methane from a landfill? Yeah, what?
BMW. There's a BMW center in South Carolina that uses it.
Very correct. There's a BMW factory in South Carolina where they built it next to a landfill. And it's not a landfill anymore, it's a beautiful green thing. But they have methane coming out of it, and it gives I think, if I'm right, it gives it about 30% of its power. Is that right? Or I forget. But a good chunk of the power to make those BMWs comes from the methane from the landfill. So in this mission, if it's a good day, this robot will go out and it'll pull that loop and we'll get the airplane. So I need to be completely in base. Does that look good?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. It's going to try to follow the line. It's going to try to grab the loop, and there's the airplane. And now my robot came back to safety, so I can touch it again. Okay, so...
And are you completely... So once it crosses safety, you can touch it now. It doesn't have to be in base.
Base is only for launching the robot.
Okay.
So it makes your life easier.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you pull can you get the toy and put the methane in together, or can you only do one mission? Can you do both?
No, you can. Those are independent. You can do both.
Ask me, what sensor was that you were using for that mission?
Okay, so that's a really good question. Let's see, what's your name?
Marina.
Marina just asked a really great question, which is, which sensors did you use to do this mission? So if you look at my robot, it has a light sensor and it has an ultrasound sensor. And my intention was to come up here, follow the line, and then go up here until I'm a certain distance from the factory, and then grab the loop. The trouble was, the ultrasound sensor, it's very precise, and the factory is very narrow, and so the ultrasound strategy wasn't working for me. And so, because I didn't have that much time this week, I decided to just forget using the ultrasound sensor. So this robot, it comes up here, and then around here, it starts looking, it stops on the line, and then it turns, and then it follows the line. And then it follows the line for a certain distance, and then it grabs the loop. And then it comes back. So I tried to do it without the line, but it's much easier following the line.
I have a question. The truck, the instructions said to have the, doesn't matter which way the tops of the cabs are facing, because on the instructions it said to have them facing forward.
Are you talking about this truck?
Yes.
So the way this truck works is you push it back like this.
I know, but the top of the cab, they're sideways, whereas on our instructions it said to put it forward.
Oh, more forward?
No, it
Well-
said to change the direction of
The direction of the thing that goes on top of
the roof
the
of
two things
the
that
cab.
goes on the roof.
Okay.
of the-
Is that an update or is that the original rule?
That's how it said in our building.
Okay. Well, is Tony around? Where'd Tony go?
Tony's right there. He's over there.
Okay. I'm pretty sure this is built correct because Tony built them all, but when Tony gets over here, we can ask him a question.
Tony's coming.
Okay. We have a question about the truck. Can you ask Tony the question about the cab?
On the top of the cabs on our building instructions, it said to have them facing forward, whereas here it's facing sideways.
You mean
The black things on top.
Can you point to?
Those. The things on top.
These things?
Yes. In our instructions, it said to have them face forward.
No, this is built correctly. So follow that one. The black pieces on top.
You're supposed to be facing that.
Yeah, they're supposed to be facing. So I'll probably double check the instructions.
So just so you know, Tony is a really good mission builder, and he's kind of our official mission builder for the sets that travel around LA for these tournaments. So this is a good table to take pictures of to bring home to reference.
Yeah, let me add a few things, and then I need to go back and pack.
Yeah.
Can I get in here, please?
Which things are
Excuse me?
dual lock?
Okay, so this is very important. You will likely end up with something that looks like this. Improperly, if you can kind of make it flip-flop like this, that's incorrect building, right? So it has to be like this. And all it takes is, just remember, what does the windshield look like? Can you drop this in the car? Remember, the windshield has an angle, and it's kind of pretty much fixed. Okay? If it's flip-flopping, take a look at it, make sure it's built correctly. And then the tip that I wanted to give you, I know I'm going to do it. So if you notice here, they have those little pegs that kind of, when you stick in here, they're kind of loose. So you can actually get there are glue that have an axle on one end and a pin on the other end. And you can actually fix these so they're kind of, they stick. You can do this on the top and the bottom and in here, so you don't have to spend a lot of time. This is just a tip so that when you're practicing that mission, you don't have to take, an extra 2 minutes every time to reset it and make sure that nobody breathes while you're doing this so that it would stay in place. Yeah. Okay, so you can keep it stationary. So the whole thing will be one piece, and you can just place it in here and it would work. And this is actually, here, if I take this.
Yeah, so what Tony's saying is when you're practicing, let's say you're doing that mission like 30 times for practice,
See that?
you can fix it so you don't have to rebuild it each time.
Yeah, you don't have to rebuild it. It will save you a lot of time.
But then when you're running your sample competition, let's say you're practicing for tournament, then you want to go back to normal.
Right. So at the beginning part of actually building your mission, you're going to make a lot of mistakes and you accidentally hit it and so on. It'll be a lot easier, but when it's done, then you're sorry for taking up your
That's okay.
precious time.
I want to show you some of these models that move so you can see them. So here comes the truck. when the truck goes this way, this pin is going to hit this lever. If I'm lucky, there we go. And it, see how it picked up the cargo? So you get points for that. And then if the cargo goes past here, then you get points for that if it's delivered. Okay.
Can I ask you, sorry, does the yellow bin have to be completely removed from the truck? Or can it just be tilting off of it?
I feel like the rules are pretty clear on that, so I'm just going to continue on because my time is really limited.
All
okay.
right.
So here I'm going to move the sorter for you. So this one, your robot needs to do this, but you see how it's moving? Oh wait, I got to do this the other way. So let's see what happens with the beam there. Oh, hand me some of those yellow beams, would you? Just slide them over. Thanks. So the sorter actually does what it says. It sorts. Yeah, this one. Yellow. Did I get the bin wrong? Okay, sorry.
I
So-
think the black and yellow are supposed to be switched. What?
That's how we find
Are
it.
those white things supposed to be on the
So
top of
that
the
marks it
piece?
as your bin. The opposing team will be black then if you're.
What?
See
Oh,
how-
those white, the things on top, the white and
So
black.
do you see how it kind of sorted things? And then hand me one of those people from over there, would you? So now if your robot delivers a person into this region, then you have leniency where if the sorter messes up, you can correct it manually yourself, or you can ask the referee to correct it for you. That gives you leniency. Otherwise, without that leniency, you're not allowed to touch anything outside of safety. No questions right now. I got to finish something.
You can also take that out with the leniency, right?
I'm hearing you, but I'm not answering you because I got to finish. I only have a few minutes. Okay, excuse me. Okay, are you playing a game during my thing? No. Okay, back up, back up. Excuse me. Back up, please. Okay. So this is the composter. When the robot hits this acts like a pendulum. And after a while, it's going to dump out the compost. If you bring the compost back to, well, for dumping it out, you get points, and for bringing it back to safety and putting it in a flower pot, you get more points.
So, Munir, when you talk about the composter, can I just interject?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Somebody asked me a question, you build it and it doesn't work, was it you? And you had to redo it a couple of times? Okay, so watch what happens here. Very important because you're going to probably run into this problem. See how the tires, you can easily put the tire when it's kind of like sticking out a little bit like this from the rim. And if it is, the height is going to be too tall so that when it swings, did you activate it by the way?
I just did, yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
so when it swings,
You can set it back up.
yeah.
Oh, that's how you set it back up easily.
Run it?
Yeah.
No. That's too far.
Okay, that's good. But yeah. Okay, so if the tires are kind of, or maybe that it's not connected all the way, so you should try to activate it now, it gets stuck. Okay? So make sure that this is above that little pin over here, and then it will work.
The thing that is happening with me is it actually hits this right here.
Then look at the way you look at the way you built it. Yeah, there's a good chance it wasn't correct. But this is a common problem. It happened to me.
Doesn't it go on that side?
It does.
Okay, excuse me, I'm going to come through again. Okay, I have just one more demo, I'm going to take some questions. So this key actually goes the other way with the luxury items on it, but I want to do this demo just to show you about bringing something back to safety, what it's like. So again, if this is set up correctly, the loop is on the other side, you have to go around to get it. I didn't have time to solve that, so I'm kind of cheating just to show you this example. But it's going to go out and hopefully grab this loop and bring it back. Okay, now, when it came back, was the model is it in safety?
Yes.
Okay, so then I can touch it. But what if, okay. Now what if I get excited So now my robot's bringing it back, but I get excited. And I'm like, great, I got it, right? Now what happens if I touch it there?
The model, the ref gets the model because it's
That's
not
right.
all the way
You gotta, if the model isn't completely in, you don't get an interruption penalty because your robot is inside of safety, but the model is not in safety, and so the model's gonna go to it's gonna go out of play. You're not gonna get the points for that. So when you're bringing stuff back to safety, even if you're excited, you gotta wait till it's completely inside. Any questions about that? Yeah.
So I had a question about something else.
Okay. Yeah, I'm ready to take questions now. Yeah.
I had a question about the truck and propane. Is it possible to move the truck first and then put the propane in after? Or do you have to put the propane before you move the truck?
Okay, so that's a great question. If it doesn't say in the rules where the truck needs to be, then there's no restriction on that. But sometimes in the rules they'll say something like, for this to score, the item must never have been in safety. So sometimes people try to do things by bringing it back to safety and doing it by hand, when really what they want to have to do is have the robot do it. So whatever mission you're going to do, make sure you check the rules and follow the rules on that, okay? But because you have a specific question on methane, let's see if we can answer that right now.
I think the rule says the truck cannot bring the
So this says the methane needs to be in the truck's engine and or the factory's power station, and it's 40 per methane. And it says exact nesting is not required. Yeah, so there's no restriction about safety that I can see in it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So let's say the robot go out for the mission. Can it left something by accident or on purpose on the table?
Yeah, if your robot goes out and leaves something out there, then it stays there. So if you want it again, you can send your robot out to get it. And this is something to keep in mind. Often when we practice at our own table, in our school or home, we might try a mission, and then if it doesn't work, we quickly reset the model and try again. And our hands are used to doing that. So at tournament, let's say you try to do something and it doesn't work. Obviously, in your competition round, you may not go reset the model, right, and try it. No, you can't do that. So even if your robot, let's say, I don't know, rip the factory off the mat or something, we can't fix it during the round. Okay, so you can't touch it. We're not allowed to touch it. So if your robot messes up stuff, it stays that way. That's the chaos rule. It stays that way. I ran a team where our robot was doing some missions, and the final mission went wrong, and the robot really went haywire and was going all over the place. We know what's going on. And it was actually actively like destroying stuff on the field, and it was really out of control. And we decided not to stop it because we didn't want any more penalties. And you would not believe this, but it actually did some crazy stuff that scored really big points. Where it ended up, it was just unbelievable. We're like, what? You know, so we got a high score, but it was not reproducible. We couldn't do it again. So stuff happens out there. Sometimes it's to your detriment. Sometimes it's to your benefit. Yeah, you had a question.
The demolition and salvage. So can you, according to the mission, you can demolish the building without salvaging?
Well, I mean, objectively speaking, you're right. But if you kind of read the intent of the mission is that you take the valuables out of the house before you destroy it, so you can like reuse them or recycle them, right? So by the same token, like if excuse me guys, I'm gonna go over here for a second. So I'm still exploring this myself, but let's say I have this and I destroy it. Destroying it already. So let's say I destroy it like that. So then I could harvest these and do something with them, and then later I could go get the valuables. But yeah, if there's no sequence mandated in the rule, but she raises a good point, which is we as refs, we can't get wrapped up in the intent or the understanding or some kind of gray area of what the concept is of the mission. We have to stick to the text.
Right.
So if the text does not say you must do A before B, then it's not then the sequence is not required. So
And along that same vein, I mean, I know the whole point is picking up your trash.
Yeah.
So there's a deduction if you demolish and leave the black undealt with.
that's right.
It doesn't specify deductions for the blue and yellow, so you could demolish and just leave it all there?
Yeah, but I believe you get points for putting beams in certain places, right? So you could, in a sense, you're leaving points on the table.
Right.
Not doing
Yeah.
that. So
Okay.
we have time for, I think, no more questions. We got to clean up. So
I
we have to be out of here. Yeah.
For the methane,
Yeah.
how it's positioned affects how you kind of like pick it up, because you can either pick it up north-south or you can pick it up like east-west. So
Okay.
is that going to be how it is? Or is it
I think the thing to note about these methanes is that they will be exactly like this when you reach the table. However, if your robot comes over here and say your robot comes over here to grab this, and your own robot is a little bit off and makes a failed attempt, then these things spin really easy. So even though it's like this when you come to the table, if your robot came over here and tries to grab it, it doesn't quite do it, and then you need to come back again, it could be in a different orientation. So this could be tricky. So you might need to design something that's less sensitive to the orientation, but it will be oriented exactly like it's supposed to be, like that, where this one is this way and this one's at 90 degrees. And I think at this point I need to thank you and wrap up, because we actually have to clean up this whole facility.